You're watching Courage, Stories of Everyday Hope. I'm Lacie Madison, and today, well, the taco regime, it's triggered by No Kings. By all accounts, No Kings Day 2 was the largest protest in the history of the United States. I'm going to say that again, just so you can really think about it. By all accounts, No Kings Day 2 was the largest protest in the history of the United States, with attendance at bare minimum being in the range of 7 million, with reports of up to 20 million people. Where's the 7 million number come through? That's how many people reserved. That's how many people put their name and said, yes, I'm going to show up. And oh lordy, did they show up. So if 7 million people signed up, I have to think far, far, far more actually were on the streets that day. Not even legacy media channels could hide the sheer size and scope of these protests. And yet, the taco regime seems to be real triggered over the fact that Chicago, LA, Richmond, New York City, and even the most crimson of red states filled their streets fit to burst, with people demanding an end to this madness. Gaslighting the American people. Since the death of Charlie Kirk, MAGA has dialed up their rhetoric to insane levels in an attempt to gaslight the American people into thinking that everyone left of center is somehow a domestic terrorist. They walk amongst us. They want to force us all not just to mourn, but to grieve for a white supremacist who hated the Voting Rights Act and Martin Luther King Jr. And if you're asking why that's bad, watch our episode on Driving While Black. MAGA went so far as to set up a website to dox people celebrating Charlie Kirk's murder. The ultimate irony being that the website was poorly made and exposed the identity of its owners. Oops. And adding to the insanity is that the website and its creators accepted tons of donations in the range of $30,000. Can I get some of that? The website now has vanished. And apparently so has the creators, making all the donors rather angry. Now, who could have expected that from a movement that often grifts on its base? Oh, the humanity! You support bad causes, probably bad things are going to happen with your money, which, FAFO. Also, a Tennessee man was arrested for posting a meme of Diaper Donnie saying, "We have to get over it," in relation to this whole Charlie Kirk kerfuffle online. The charge? Inciting a school shooting. Can we go after the real school shooters? Can we go after the way that school shooters can get access to guns? No, just the mean people. Ah, I see. Now, for the MAGA bots in the audience, and we know now that there are thousands of them, thank you, Elon Musk, it's pretty obvious that the meme was pointing out the hypocrisy of the right, trying to call out the left's so-called celebration of a mass shooting victim's death, when they actually haven't batted an eye at the how many mass shootings have we seen again this year so far? 340? That is over 800 children, a mix of teens and young children, having been the victim of some kind of gun violence so far this year as well. So, pot, kettle, MAGA? Leading up to No Kings Day 2, the taco regime's handlers did their level best to paint the protest as a Hate America rally, and they tried to paint all of us as the domestic terrorists that they so desperately want, no, that they need us to be. Mike Where Is His Spine Johnson tried to paint the No Kings protest as a Hate America rally filled with the pro-Hamas wing and, the Antifa people. The Antifa people! The what? You mean like these Antifa people? Or how about these Antifa people? Oh, it must be these Antifas. Who did they fight again? I'll wait. We got time.
So many people forget that the first country the Nazis invaded was their own.
But you know what happened after Mike, I'm sorry, I helped crash Grinder Johnson said these vile, baseless things about the American people and then promptly doubled down on his dumbass statement? No Kings 2 happened. And millions upon millions of people took to the streets, y'all. No Kings 2 breaks MAGA's brain. So Mike No Johnson and the rest of MAGA tried to paint No Kings as some kind of mass terrorist rally, but it turns out the historic turnout for No Kings 2, again, attended by at least 7 million people, as reported by Alt National Parks, only resulted in 22 arrests. And all of them were MAGA counter-protesters trying to start shit. And among those MAGA agitators arrested in places like Ohio, Kentucky, California, South Carolina, North Carolina, Michigan, Oregon, Georgia, Virginia, Texas, and Pennsylvania, there were incidents of guns being brandished and vehicles plowing through crowds of protesters. Gee, it really seems like the MAGA are the real terrorists, doesn't it? And Taco? Well, he was super triggered about the whole thing. He was so triggered, in fact, that he posted an AI video of himself cosplaying as the Burger King and flying a fighter jet to dump shit all over the American people. Yeah, no, that's an accurate description of his administration. And you know something? Other than the fact that he really should be cosplaying Ronald McDonald because he's a freaking clown, all of this rhetoric used as the National Guard and the rest of the military are on day, at that time, 22 of a government shutdown. Now, at the time of this recording, are you guys okay in the future? Can you send a word to those of us that are stuck in the before times? Is he gone? Is democracy restored yet? It means they're not getting paid, and federal employees in general will apparently not be entitled to back pay. And no, that reported $130 million donation from a MAGA billionaire, Timothy Mellon, it's not going to cut it. The US government spends billions of dollars every year keeping the military in operation. And according to MSNBC, $130 million that'd barely cover even a single day of operations, let alone the entirety of a shutdown. And that doesn't even get into the legal and constitutional questions that this action creates. I don't feel that we should have a billionaire able to just send his money towards an army, right? As we've seen, though, this regime, it's super fine with doing whatever the hell it wants without any consideration to the way that our government is supposed to work. So keep in mind, people are going hungry. SNAP benefits were about to run out for 42 million Americans on November 1st. The military not being paid, and the GOP still talking about cutting Medicaid, Medicare, and Social Security, all to fund tax breaks for the robber barons like Elon Musk and Peter Thiel. It makes more sense why they're funneling money than towards this organization. But first, Don McCankles needed to bulldoze the First Lady's domain in order to accommodate a $250 to $350 million ballroom that'll make the White House look like it's sporting a gaudy-ass tumor. And yeah, I know, I guess it already is. All of this while the taco admin tries to convince we, the American people, that Democrats are the real reason for the shutdown when, let me check, Republicans control the House, the Senate, the Congress, and the executive branch. That 2 + 2 = 5 and I hate you rhetoric is enough to make George Orwell turn over in his grave. But the reality, my dear viewers, is that MAGA does not want you to know that the reason why Democrats were holding out is because they don't want to be a party to at least 15 million people losing their health care. They do not want to be party to slashes to Medicaid, Medicare, and they don't want to see the hard-earned money paid into Social Security by you, me, and your grandmother become a welfare check to the billionaires like Mark Zuckerberg and real-life known Lex Luthor cosplayer Jeff Bezos. But despite the government shutdown, despite attacks on free speech like the attempted firing of Jimmy Kimmel and the threat of legal action against anyone who doesn't play nice with dipshit Don, the American people protested, and they did so peacefully. But as we said many times before on this show, peaceful does not have to mean civil. And as Blob the Builder and his white supremacist handlers continue to take a sledgehammer to our democracy, we the people will have to meet that message with one of our own. One that will be felt by every corporate fat cat in the country if we do it right. General strike now. In response to the Great Strike Wave of 1945 and 1946, bootlicking politicians and business owners felt that labor unions had way too much power, so the Taft-Hartley Act bulldozed significant parts of the Wagner Act and effectively outlawed the most powerful tool that we, the workers, have in our tool belt, the general strike. That's right. After the 8-hour workday and weekends were won by striking unions, thank you, Uncle Sam decided, never again, peasants! While the Taft-Hartley Act established collective bargaining rights for workers wanting to negotiate pay raises and allowed for smaller scale strikes, the act specifically prohibits these things: secondary boycotts and picketing, meaning that if a union doesn't have a beef with a given employer, they're not allowed to picket them or influence business relationships with that said employer. They're not allowed to do sympathy strikes or boycotts, meaning that workers who are not involved in a labor dispute or aren't members of a union can't join striking employees of another business. Jurisdictional strikes and boycotts, meaning strikes or boycotts against an employer that would result from a dispute with another union. And the Taft-Hartley Act also paved the way for right-to-work laws and other anti-worker laws to be enacted, such as banning union and agency shops. I spent 17 years in Tennessee, and it is a right-to-work state, or we used to call it a right-to-be-fired state. It was ridiculous. But you know what? If the taco regime wants to take a bulldozer to our White House and our Constitution, then why the heck should we, the workers, respect these rules? The billionaire robber barons. This is our first cat crash. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, if you see a tail going on, this is Rogel in the background. The billionaire robber baron class needs your money a heck of a lot more than you need them. And we've seen a taste of what happens when mega corporations like Disney have to choose between kneeling to the Taco Reich or the American people. They fear the American people's collective outrage a lot more than the Cheeto Hamburglar in chief. Corporate America has no morals, no philosophy to guide itself. All it respects is the will of the shareholders it's beholden to. And guess what those shareholders want? Unlimited, infinitely increasing profits year to year, which is also cancer. Cancer is one of the only things that only grows. Unlimited.
Cool.
And guess what? If we crater those profits like we are currently doing right now to Target and so many of these other horrible companies, those shareholders are going to be mad. And they will then demand that these companies change course. And then all of those corporate lobbyists in Washington will be turned loose on Epstein's best buddy in chief and his army of yes men. So keep that in your back pocket as the news cycle gets worse and worse, and as our cities are invaded by this corrupt and unlawful regime, as your healthcare and Social Security are being stolen from you. Our power is absolute. After all, the Constitution begins with we the people, not we the billionaires. It's beyond time for us all to come together, to lean on each other to bring about a brighter future. It is time for a general strike in this country. And no, I'm not saying in 2028. I'm not saying in 2045. I'm not even saying in 2077. I'm saying now. Because if we don't get what we want, if democracy is not restored, then we should shut it down. However, it is so easy to say that we need a general strike now, but how can we actually make that a reality? I know so many of you work, you have kids, we're beholden to a society that's meant to grind up your productive value and just spit you out the other side. How to make a general strike happen now? It's not enough for us just to say, well, we need a general strike. The truth is, getting to the point where a general strike is even feasible takes a lot of organizing work, and we're not there yet. We need roughly 3.5% of the total US population to participate to get what we want. And that means 11 million people who don't just support a general strike in spirit, but who will commit to making it a reality. People who want to participate and not just cheer and thumbs up from the sidelines. Now, that 3.5% goal has been thrown around a lot lately, and people who are both qualified and woefully unqualified have thrown their opinions about it. We're going to the data. Research conducted by folks like Erica Chenoweth and Maria Stevens shows that when a movement gains the support of at least 3.5% of the population through peaceful resistance, they are more likely to succeed in toppling an authoritarian regime. But that does not mean that the things change overnight when one single protest reaches that magnitude and then some. In South Korea, anti-Yoon activists flooded the streets, not just once a month, but every single week, to stop martial law and end up getting Yoon impeached. For the US to take advantage of the 3.5% rule, we need to be engaged in sustained civil disobedience, in sustained protest week after week. Right now, you can head to generalstrikeus.com and pledge your support for a general strike in the US. Now, that does mean you aren't just supporting a general strike in spirit. It does not mean that you support just the concept of a general strike. It means you are committing to taking action once we reach the lofty number of 11 million people saying, let's roll. At the time of this writing, they have the support of 396,981 people. Those are people that are committed to action once they reach their goal. Now, you might be worried, like, I don't want to put my name on a list. And I think that is a very, very valid concern. I'm not asking you to put yourself in danger. You can be looking to community organizers as well that are definitely having organization that doesn't require you to release or share any of your data. Don't sign up for a general strike unless you are actually prepared to do what is necessary. Okay, so right now we have a fraction of the leaders that we need to make a general strike happen nationwide. How can we build our coalition and support workers' rights? Well, I am so glad you asked, because it turns out there is a whole host of things that we can do to grow the coalition. Number one, get the info out there. In order to reach a goal of 11 million committed participants in a general strike, we all need to recruit as many people as we possibly can. As I mentioned earlier, you can pledge your commitment to a general strike by heading to generalstrikeus.com. But posting on the internet is not just going to cut it. Remind yourself who owns all these social media platforms. And also, most of the bad actors aren't even real. The amount of bot farms that are getting discovered, even though we've been talking about them since 2016, is massive. So go talk to real human people. How? How can I go talk to real human people? You're going to need to get involved outside of these four walls. One idea that actually works, printing out flyers and going to high traffic areas to hand them out. And then keep doing it week after week, month after month. Get known in your community as the flyer person. Any flyers you hand out should be easily understood within 30 seconds and include step-by-step information. Our head writer, Eric Malachite, writes a lot of tabletop RPG rules, and one of the things that he has learned, and that we've also learned by trying to explain to our boomer parents what's going on, players need step-by-step instructions with language that focuses on clarity and readability, and the same needs to be said about these hypothetical flyers for all of us. Just make it clear. But if evangelicals and Seventh-day Adventists can go door to door in service to their God and community, well, then maybe we could do the same in service for workers' rights in our Constitution. Set yourself a goal. Talk to 100 people. See what happens. Most probably going to ignore you. Some might be argumentative or hostile, but the majority you might find might actually agree with you, and they're just looking for some guidance on what they should do. So get people dialed in and educated. Going door to door and handing out flyers in busy areas is one thing. The next thing would be getting people educated. Well, how do you do that though? Well, look to historical movements from the past for inspiration, like the Black Panthers' famous free breakfast for children program. That started in 1969. It promised food for children in need. Kids got a warm meal while the organizers talked shop with the parents and educated them on their rights. MAGA might have the internet currently dominated with bots. Lame. But there are no bots in real life. Many churches and libraries have free spaces available for events. Use them to educate potential coalition members on workers' rights, what infrastructure we're going to need to support striking coalition members, like daycare, and recruit people to help grow the coalition and achieve our goals. And don't be discouraged if only a few people show up at first. Numbers, they will come with time when they realize, oh, that workers' right person, they're for real. Number 3, provide for coalition members. We've learned the hard way in this grand American experience. At any point, over 40 million Americans could lose access to food security. That's insane. So if 11 million Americans go on general strike, we will need to feed them and their families, which means we're going to need infrastructure and the means to make this possible. But we also can't just worry about food. One of the major barriers to a person joining into the general strike is a fear of losing their home. Bills still need to be paid even as we face down threats to our democracy and Constitution. This means we're going to need strike funding to help support these coalition members. It means helping them out with other things like daycare, mortgage, rent, and utility bills. Unlike Taco's regime, we actually take care of our own. Number 4, a clear list of demands and a plan to end the strike. The most common complaint that I hear about No Kings and 5051 protests is that the messaging isn't clear enough, that they aren't clear about what they support and don't support, and that they don't have a list of demands. Let me tell you a little bit about 5051. They are an entirely decentralized organization that started organizing protests back in February. It started on Reddit by a bunch of people that just wanted to do the right thing. Every state has a different organizing team. A lot of cities have their own personal teams, and they are trying to do messaging and protesting for their specific area. So it might come across to you like it's a little chaotic, but a general strike will have a clear list of demands that once met would end the strike. But how do you get that message out to 11 million or hopefully even more people? Well, you need a massive list of people, and you have to have a clear line of communication with those people. And that requires infrastructure and volunteers ready to get the word out once the demands have been met. Now, there's a whole lot more to planning a general strike than just what we've outlined on today's show. There is a great article on Medium that was partially used in the research portion for this show that you should read. The link is going to be shown on screen and will be available in the description and comments. Ultimately, it is up to we, the people, to educate ourselves and take action to protect our homes, our families, and our Constitution. A general strike can be the answer to our collective democratic prayers, but organizing that strike is more than likely going to be the most challenging thing that our citizens will ever have to do. Standing up for the rights of workers and ensuring that we have a world of peace and prosperity in the future, that to me looks like courage. You've been watching Courage, Stories of Everyday Hope. I'm your host, Lacie Madison. Please like, share, and subscribe everywhere. Hit that notification bell so you don't miss a moment. And if you're interested in joining the general strike, let us know that you're standing with us. I'm standing with you. This has been a Doculite Media production. Thank you so much, and bye-bye.